Dante's Boxing Nation, what's going on, guys? So, AKA Best, Canelo Alvarez is planning on fighting on both of Mayweather's reserved dates to fight, which we all know is May 5th and September 13th, Mexican Independence Day and Cinco de Mayo. This is what Canelo Alvarez basically had to say about the whole situation. Quote, "I want those dates. I don't care who fights. Those are important to the Mexican people. I want to make history in my career." End quote. Listen, I give Canelo Alvarez credit for being destined to be a star. But the truth of the matter is, he is not a star. And we know that by looking at his last two pay-per-view numbers. Okay? Canelo Alvarez versus Angulo, the numbers were very low. But what did you Canelo fans say? You defended him by saying, come on, Dante, that was his first pay-per-view, right? That's his first pay-per-view. So then what happens when he has his second pay-per-view? The numbers are worse than the first pay-per-view. Now, I know you guys don't like to hear the truth, but if you don't like to hear the truth, you done came to the wrong damn channel. Because I'm going to tell you something right now. That is not progression when it comes to Canelo's pay-per-view status. In fact, by looking at the pay-per-view numbers, we can easily say that Canelo Alvarez is actually regressing right now. So now after Canelo Alvarez has his lowest pay-per-view numbers, he decides to go after the big prize, which is try to battle the pay-per-view king for his date that he has dominated for the last several years. Oh yeah, that makes a lot of sense. That makes a whole lot of sense, right? So let me get this straight. So Canelo, when he wasn't going up against Floyd Mayweather, he had the lowest pay-per-view numbers. But now he wants to go up against Floyd Mayweather, and he expects to have successful numbers. I don't know if this is arrogance from Canelo or he was just never good in math, and I'm talking about very, very basic math. But there is a problem right now with Team Canelo if they are going to let Canelo Alvarez do this. Now, don't get me wrong. As a boxing fan, I don't mind seeing it. But if I were in Canelo's camp, I would be saying, are you insane, Canelo? Are you really going to go up against Floyd Mayweather on a date that he has practically made his own? And my second question would be to Oscar De La Hoya. I would ask him, are you insane for allowing Canelo Alvarez to put something like this together up against Floyd Mayweather on the same date? Do you know what is at stake when it comes to losing money? At least that's what I would be thinking, but I'm not a promoter. So maybe Oscar knows something that I don't know. But speaking of Oscar, this is what Oscar had to say in response to Canelo Alvarez making this decision. Quote, Canelo Alvarez gave me his marching orders, and that is fighting in May of next year and September of next year. So as a promoter, I have to do whatever I can do, make that happen for him. End quote. I don't know, man, but it seems to me that somebody has lied to Canelo or played a mean-ass joke on him, and they still haven't let his ass in on the joke. That's him really thinking that he can compete with Floyd Money Mayweather. I can guarantee you right now, all this is going to do is make Floyd Mayweather look even better and make Canelo Alvarez look even worse. Because now, here you have a Mexican fighter who is the biggest star in Mexico fighting on a Mexican holiday. And you mean to tell me a guy who's not even Mexican, a guy who's all American, is going to do better numbers than you on your own holiday? I mean, that's equivalent to Floyd Mayweather fighting Canelo Alvarez in Mexico and having 75% of the crowd chanting Mayweather or USA. Could you imagine that? That's how this will look if Floyd Mayweather dominates Canelo Alvarez in this pay-per-view battle. That would be extremely embarrassing for Canelo Alvarez. That would be extremely embarrassing for all of Canelo Alvarez's fans. Because, see, a lot of people know this deep down. A lot of people know that Floyd Mayweather is 10 times the star that Canelo Alvarez is. But if Canelo does something like this, he puts it right in front for the whole world to see, to where it can't be denied. You can no longer deny it because they went head to head and the numbers don't lie. Who is Mexico's favorite boxing star? That would be the question, and that would be the question that would be answered come May 5th, Cinco de Mayo. When it comes to pay-per-view buys, because you can look at it that way. And speaking of Mexico's favorite fighter, a lot of people don't know this, but Leonard Ellaby, he did an interview, and I heard a lot of Mexican fans say this. I run into a lot of different Mexican fans that come to the Mayweather gym, and they say that Floyd Mayweather is loved more in Mexico than Canelo Alvarez is. But we're not just talking about love. He is idolized, respected more. We're talking about basing things purely on his skill set. Okay? So obviously there's no surprise that Floyd Mayweather would do way better numbers than Canelo Alvarez would if they were to go face to face. This is a terrible idea. Terrible idea for Canelo to do something like this. But once again, Canelo Alvarez, he truly believes that he is this big, huge star. And he really thinks that he can compete with Floyd Mayweather. This also goes back to all the fans that have sent messages on my videos constantly saying that, Floyd Mayweather, he's only selling this amount of tickets and he's only, selling this many pay-per-view buys because he's fighting on a Mexican holiday. So now we get to see, how does a Mexican do fighting on a Mexican holiday? You would think that this would be a no-brainer. Oh, that's obvious. Mexican fighter fighting on a Mexican holiday? Oh, that's obvious. Canelo would do better than Floyd Mayweather. But we know that's not the case, and we know that's not going to happen. Okay? So I would seriously not advise Canelo to do this. But once again, as a fan, I don't mind him doing it. I don't mind seeing a little, face-off, HBO versus Showtime, pay-per-view versus pay-per-view. And not only that, but once again, this puts more pressure on Floyd Mayweather possibly to put on an even bigger pay-per-view fight in May. But realistically, it doesn't matter who Floyd Mayweather fights, because Floyd Mayweather just fought Marcos Maidana, and he did better pay-per-view numbers in the rematch than he did in the first fight, which once again proves, like I always tell you guys, all this dumb shit you hear ignorant ass decavs say on the internet is just dumbass talk to make them feel better. That's why when you hear all this ridiculous stuff on the internet, it doesn't matter, because when the numbers come out, it defies all ignorance. Okay? There would only be one reason why someone who's not even Mexican will do way better numbers on a Mexican holiday than an actual Mexican fighter born and raised in Mexico. And that would simply be, you got one guy who people are willing to spend their personal money on over Canelo Alvarez. That says it all. That says it all. And no matter who Canelo faces, even if Canelo was facing Miguel Cotto, you're not going to beat Floyd Mayweather numbers. But at least you would get better numbers. But to make things even worse for Canelo Alvarez, he's fighting against Joshua Clottey. Okay? He's fighting against Joshua Clottey on a pay-per-view, trying to go head-to-head with Floyd Mayweather. Financially, it doesn't make sense. In terms of Canelo Alvarez's career and his future, it doesn't make sense. We'll see. Oscar said he's going to let it fly. We'll see if he lets it fly. We already know most people aren't going to pay for 2 pay-per-views. And people certainly aren't going to pay for Canelo Alvarez over Floyd Mayweather. And if you don't believe me, let's wait until we see the numbers. Once again, we already seen Canelo Alvarez's last numbers against Lara. Canelo versus Lara, that was a super fight. Okay? It was a super fight. Mexico versus Cuba, the guy who's been calling him out for 2 years, jumped on stage, called him out. That fight sold itself. Canelo Alvarez still didn't generate the numbers that he was expected to generate. Okay? So that's pretty much all I got. Let's see how the numbers play out next Cinco de Mayo. I'm on to the next one.